interim flyweight title on the line as former champion Brandon Moreno, fresh off dropping the belt back to Deiveson Figueiredo, is still going to be a minus 210 favorite in his own rematch against a surging Kai Kara-France, who comes in at plus 180 according to Caesars. They fought once in 2019. Moreno taking a unanimous decision despite the fact that KKF really had some good moments and won the opening round. Luke, we set the stage storyline-wise on Wednesday. We heard from Brandon Moreno. But Kai Kara-France is coming on. How different will this second fight look than the first one, which Brett Okamoto did try to remind us all over social media? First fight was a damn good fight. France's nose got busted up. Action fight back and forth. Will it be the same scenario in the rematch?
And by the way, if memory serves, and I believe this is true, I don't have it in front of me to prove it, but I believe I heard this on the broadcast. I think Kai Kara-France was the favorite, the betting favorite anyway, heading into their first fight, which is kind of a funny thing to think about.
Yeah, Moreno had come back from being cut, but then drew against Askar Askarov. So there was still a question of who he was, Luke.
Right, fair enough. I got to tell you, you know me. I'm the biggest believer on this side of the ocean, so to speak, of all those CKB guys. And I want to be very clear about that. I think since the loss to Brandon Royval, Kai Kara-France, I wouldn't say reborn, but has really tightened up some of his deficiencies. I mean, really tightened up in the grappling, in the wrestling. You know, for Rogerio Bontorin to have his back for minutes and then him to get him off and then polish him off on the feet inside of a round, incredible. Askar Askarov getting his back multiple times and then losing a close, but, tough fight just the same, and one where, a case for Kai Kara-France is not hard to make. So incredible that he was able, to me, that was a moment where I was like, oh, the old Kai Kara-France would have lost those fights.
Yeah.
Or not the Bontorin fight necessarily, but for sure the Askarov fight. You couldn't deal with a guy for 3 rounds who had that kind of scrambling and wrestling and back-taking ability and win. And the fact that he did win tells you he is different. That's just a reality for me. I don't know if he can do it against Moreno. I really don't know. So I went back and I watched the Figueiredo fight with Moreno. I was like, what did Figueiredo really do to get the win over Moreno? And one of the things he did was kind of interesting. He did go to the outside and inside leg kick a lot. Moreno was very heavy on that front leg. If you guys notice, he has a real wide stance, and he leans kind of heavy in the front like this all the time. And Figueiredo made him pay for it over and over and over again. That was one. But the other part that Figueiredo did was he didn't counterfight all the time. That would not be true. There was a lot of times, for example, he'd be double jabbing and then low kicking his way in because Brandon would just kind of hold position. He didn't slip a whole lot, cover up, and then you could see Figueiredo do what he does commonly. Or a big weapon for him would be to level change or throw something and then wait for Brandon Moreno's hands to drop. And the left hook was very powerful for Figueiredo, but that doesn't really explain fully what he did. The big insight for me was, one, slowing down the action, but more specifically, he let Moreno blitz. Yeah. And every time Moreno, Moreno, it looks like, Moreno is very different from Khamzat Chimaev, but they both have that shot out of a cannon energy all the time. Figueiredo used that against him. And every time he would blitz, he would get under it and level change and go for a takedown. And to be clear, Moreno would, I'll pull the stats up here in just a second, BC. Moreno would stuff him half the time, or they would have these crazy fucking scrambles all the time, and it was all a bunch of nonsense. In fact, in terms of overall takedown success rate, Figueiredo was terrible. He only got 2 of 11, but that doesn't really tell the story. What ended up happening was when Figueiredo needed to lead, he would stand at distance, throw the leg kick, double jab his way in, throw the left hook through these scenarios where he was getting transfer of defense. That was huge for him. And more commonly, he never let the blitz set up a scramble for Moreno, or never let it lead to, I'm going to stand my ground and brawl with you. No. Going to take all of that away, deflating balloons constantly along the way. And that was a very successful game plan for him. It fucking worked. If you go to the first fight with Moreno and Kai Kara-France stands very far away and does he does feint a lot, obviously, coming from CKB, but he stands really far away and then goes low and then tries to come over the top and then comes over the top. There's a lot of heavy overhanding as a way to distance close and then land, which, okay, that could work, but that's, Moreno can see a lot of that coming, and he has great hand speed, great shot selection. It didn't really work all that well in the first fight. And you're like, okay, well, could he repeat what Figueiredo did, which was allow the blitz and then clinch or present a takedown threat or whatever? Not like Figueiredo can. No, not really. I'll say this. Like, is Kai Kara-France talented enough to strike with anyone in this division? Yeah, certainly on paper it seems that way. But I will tell you, I think that Figueiredo had just the right game plan, and it requires having a certain set of dimensional skills across the board. I'm not sure Kai Kara-France has. It is absolutely clear to me on the defensive side that Kai Kara-France is massively improved in the striking and the wrestling. But in terms of being able to threaten that way to let the other parts of your game breathe, BC, I got to say I'm a little skeptical.
That's fair, and that's an interesting way to look at it because it's hard not to get seduced by this run from Kai Kara-France, which is 3 straight wins. Are they all finishes? Yeah. No, the third one against Askarov's a decision, but, right. Blowing away Bontarine by submission, knocking out Cody Garbrandt.
No, he knocked out Bontarine on the feet.
Knocking him out, excuse me on that. And when you look back at the first one, as you mentioned, Moreno believes that it was his technical advantage in round 2 and 3 that won him that fight, but it is a different KKF. This KKF is a little bit more hell-bent on landing power shots. He's still darting in and out. He's still using speed and feints and quick combinations. But, Luke, you got to ask yourself, there is a line drawn in the sand in the great CKB gym, right? And on one side is Volkanovski and Adesanya, who are like otherworldly future Hall of Famer, possible, top 5 upper room goat ship contenders down the road. They're just next level special. And on the other side of that line is like, Dan Hooker and Brad Riddell and what's the guy's name? The real good looking guy.
Carlos Ulberg, yeah.
Carlos Ulberg. It's like, I'm not going to ask you, is KKF on the level of Volkanovski and Adesanya, but Luke, to become the third king of that gym and the third UFC champion, in this case an interim one, he's kind of going to have to be. And Luke, he looks like he's really close to being. Is this the fight where Kai Kara-France makes the full leap? Because we do need to see what kind of adjustments Moreno can make after this type of loss. And he's made great adjustments in the past. He got cut and came back and won the title. He's still young and absolutely in his prime. But he's dealing with, as we talked about Wednesday, a more confident, a more precise, a striker who's going to dart in and out, but is also looking to leave that receipt on the way out. I think this is going to be a track meet. I think it's going to end, not disputedly, but you could score it either way. And I just think KKF is coming on in this moment, Luke. And it kind of breaks up the script, maybe even the script of what UFC is imagining here, by floating this interim belt that doesn't really need to be there, but capitalizes on another Mexican-American market in Dallas, makes this fight seem much bigger than it is. Maybe they think Moreno will win. Then we go to a 4th dance with Figueiredo, maybe 5 and 6. Who knows what happens after that? I just feel like I'm feeling something from KKF, Luke, that's gonna be the spoiler in this situation. Not going to be easy. Going to have to be based on the judge's perspective. But I think it's in play that he can use movement, use volume, but he's going to have to swim without getting wet, so to speak, and not get caught, not get the damage, Luke. We're going to have to see him raise it even another level to join that select group of Volk, Izzy, and CKB royalty. But I think it's in him, Luke. I really do. I think it's in him.
It could be. It certainly could be. The odds are as close as you said for a reason, right? He can do a lot of things. And in fact, what's kind of interesting is, this was the old KKF, and if Moreno, for example, was initiating takedowns or scrambles and could find the back, I think that would be curtains for Kai Kara-France. Even if he was able to survive, the control time would be extraordinary. Now, he still might be able, Moreno in this case, to get valuable control time. I would be very surprised to see Kai Kara-France submitted. That is not a scenario. Again, anything's possible. I don't perceive that as all that likely. I'd be very surprised to see Kai Kara-France, have his back taken and then just beaten on for minute after minute. I don't see that happening either. But from the combination of threats, like who has more threats in more dimensions of the game between these two, it's Moreno. Now, you could say, well, Kai Kara-France is a better striker than Moreno in totality, but A, they already fought, and that didn't work. And B, even if you still want to hold on to that idea, how much better is he of a striker than Moreno? Probably modestly at most, right? Not much. And between the two dimensionalities that Moreno has. Also, Moreno, I think, has, fought and beaten better guys, Kai Kara-France among them. Kind of tells you that he's sort of seen what the mountaintop looks like. Now, there are some factors worth sort of talking about here. Moreno is no longer with his longtime gym, right? He left Entron Gym in I think it's either in Tijuana or Mexico City. I can't remember where the gym is located anymore. But in Mexico, he has gone from them. He has sort of relocated. And so you wonder exactly I've had coaches tell me, when a fighter relocates to a new camp, it takes a couple of them before they really kind of settle in and you can see the full, value of working with a new coach in that sort of scenario. So we'll see exactly what it all ends up doing for him. I take that seriously.
Is he training in his garage? I know the countdown cameras always catch him working out in his garage, and he's got a beautiful family. Love me some Brandon Moreno, but is it really happening there, Luke?
No, my understanding is he's with James Krause, right? I believe he is with I guess it's called Glory or something, whatever the name of it is. Glory MMA and Fitness in Kansas City. That's why he's over there now. Dude, James Krause is one of the smartest guys in the fucking game.
Yeah.
I mean, if anybody is going to have a good game plan, it's him. And by the way, Kai Kara-France has got Eugene Behrman in his corner, who might be the fucking best when it comes to game plans. No doubt about it.
Weird that you don't have a city kicking boner on the level for KKF that you do the other guys.
I guess I got to say I do, but the problem with the issue is this. Like, here's the thing. Izzy is also in the grappling department. Yeah, he threw up that triangle on Kelvin Gastelum. But one of the criticisms I've had of Izzy as his career has developed a little bit is he only really has, and it's overly simplified to say it this way, but he basically has one way to win, which is in the standing. Now, in the standing department, here's the difference. The difference for me is that Izzy's striking is just miles ahead of everyone else's, where you're getting multiple rotations now of contenders, and they still can't fucking find a way to do anything. And the best that they can do is not get knocked out, but they can't have any meaningful offense behind it. Like, he's that fucking good. He lords over that division, his striking. So, the fact that he is largely very defensive in the grappling and then the sort of the wrestling department, while it is somewhat of a knock on his game, it just doesn't really matter as much right now, given how substantial his advantage is on the feet. Kai Kara-France is not in that space. He has very, very good striking, but he does not lord it over the flyweights in that way. So while he does have significantly improved defensive wrestling and defensive grappling, his ace in the hole isn't as substantial as it is for someone like Izzy. Conversely, for someone like Volkanovski, I do think that other guys can hang with him in the striking department. Last fight with Max notwithstanding, guys have hurt him on the feet. He's been dropped before, but he has full dimensionality in all kinds of ways with his takedowns, with his submission defense, with his ground and pound, with his gas tank. He can weaponize it in a lot of different directions. Kai Kara-France is very, very good in the striking, and I want to be clear, 100% a winnable fight. But he is not like Izzy. He does not have that same advantage over the division where he can let other parts of his game be a little bit more defensively oriented without the same kind of offense behind it.
Very fair, very fair. It's why the odds are so close. Great fight, rematch, interim title tag or not. Figueiredo most likely next for the winner unless he ends up moving up. Luke, I know he's threatened a couple times. Pay me more.
I don't believe that, by the way.
Pay me more, I'll move up. But he's got new management. He's got, Uri Faber is part of that team now, so we'll see what happens there. Can't wait for this fight. I just think KKF is going to rock you. Get your plus money now.
So let me ask you.
Venmo me something. Yeah.
This one goes the distance, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
The flyweights have to go the distance. I just don't see. I mean, Kai Kara-France has a good chin. He's battle tested. I would be very surprised to see him submitted. And dude, Brandon Moreno,
he's been through it. He's been through it
with the very best of them. So this one I see going the full 5.